Thanks to you at home for joining us this hour. Really good to have you here as well. So in Star Wars, they blow up the Death Star, right? It's the good guys, it's the Rebel Alliance against the evil Galactic Empire. And against all odds, the good guys, the Rebel Alliance, succeeds in blowing up the Empire's most terrifying weapon, this gigantic Death Star, this weapon they can use to, blow up whole planets. So at the end of Star Wars, we're basically, good guys 1, Empire 0. That's Star Wars. Then 3 years later, we get the next movie. We get The Empire Strikes Back. And as the name implies, the Empire is not taking it well that they got spanked in the first movie. They had their Death Star destroyed, and so now they are striking back at the Rebel Alliance. The evil Galactic Empire is on the offensive, and they are coming for our heroes. The Empire Strikes Back is just as exciting as the first Star Wars movie, but it is darker. It is definitely darker, right? Our heroes aren't, just plucky underdogs like they were in the first movie. It really feels like they are losing throughout much of The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, Empire Strikes Back is where we get, I am your father, right? The bad guy Darth Vader telling our hero Luke Skywalker that he's Luke's dad. Talk about unwelcome news, right? And he says it to him after he cuts off Luke's hand. I mean, it's dark. It's dark. The whole vibe of The Empire Strikes Back is this, the dark dread of this tyrannical force having the upper hand, seeming like it's winning. And whether or not you've seen Star Wars ever, or whether, like me, you haven't seen any of the movies, like you haven't seen Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back since they came out when I was not yet 10 years old. I haven't seen them since. But still, I'm willing to bet that for you, like me, this sound from The Empire Strikes Back still takes you right back to it. Still puts you right back in that fear and dread of the terrible, evil Galactic Empire. John Williams' Imperial March from The Empire Strikes Back. Dun, 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 dun. Right. It's iconic, instant American pop culture shorthand for you're looking at tyranny, right? Right? You're looking at a despot flexing his power to intimidate innocent people. Like, we viscerally know that's what you're looking at when you hear that sound. But in that video that I just showed, the reason the visuals aren't from any of the Star Wars movies, the reason the visuals seem different is because this video, this TikTok, was shot by a local guy who lives in Washington, D.C., and this is his recording of him playing the Imperial March from Empire Strikes Back out loud on his iPhone as Trump's deployment of the National Guard has armed troops in uniform patrolling his neighborhood. He did not get in the way of the National Guard patrol. He did not try to block what this National Guard patrol was doing. He just played that iconic song from The Empire Strikes Back on his phone as he walked around after them, conveying satirically and through music exactly what this National Guard deployment is. When he did that, a National Guardsman summoned the D.C. police to arrest him for it. And they put him in handcuffs for having done that, for having played that song. But now, he just got paid. He's just received a $50,000 payment as a settlement for the cops handcuffing him, essentially as punishment for him playing the song from The Empire Strikes Back. His lawsuit against the National Guard is still pending, so there may yet be more to come. Trump's National Guard patrols are still there, as of today, in D.C. In an interview with the Washington Post today, the guy who played the Imperial March as he walked behind the National Guard patrol, he notes to the Washington Post today that he does still go out and do this, only now he doesn't just do it with his iPhone, now he does it louder, with a portable speaker. And now he's just been paid $50,000 for the way they overreached and handcuffed and tried to lock him up for doing it. You know who else got paid today? Or who learned today that she's gonna get paid? E. Jean Carroll. In the 1990s, E. Jean Carroll was a very successful, very well-known magazine writer and columnist. She wrote for Saturday Night Live. She was an editor at New York Magazine and Esquire Magazine. She was Playboy's first female contributing editor. And in her New York glam media celebrity, E. Jean Carroll was a sort of distant acquaintance of Donald Trump. And she says that in the mid-1990s, she met up with Trump by happenstance at a department store in New York. And she says he essentially boxed her in a dressing room and raped her. She filed a civil lawsuit against him. A jury in that case found him liable for sexually abusing her, but not for rape. Also found him liable for defaming her. The jury ordered Trump to pay her $5 million. Trump refused and appealed, but today the United States Supreme Court decided they would not save Donald Trump from that verdict, and so now E. Jean Carroll will be paid. E. Jean Carroll will be paid millions of dollars by Donald Trump personally, potentially with tens of millions more to come in the future, if the other verdict she obtained against him also turns out this way. But regardless of any future potential payments from Donald Trump to E. Jean Carroll, as of today, he must pay her $5 million. That case has gone as far as it can go. It is settled. It is done. He must pay her. Today, the Trump administration lost in federal court in New Hampshire. Trump has been trying to force that state to hand over its voter rolls to the federal government. The Trump administration has not only demanded that states hand over their voter rolls, it has sued the states to try to force them to comply. The Trump administration has sued more than 24 states to try to force their voter rolls out of them. Well, as of today, there have been verdicts in 11 of those cases. And as of today, the Trump administration is 0 for 11 in those cases. With today's loss in New Hampshire, that means they have lost 11 straight. They have lost all of them thus far. And that means the states will not be forced to hand over their voters' information to a president who says he doesn't believe that American election results are real. Reporter Tim Murphy at Mother Jones just had a look at the way Democrats are contesting this year's elections, which might have something to say about the desperation Trump is showing to try to throttle the election so they don't go off as normal. Murphy writes that for the first time ever, Democrats are running candidates in every single state legislature race in the state of Minnesota. No uncontested races. Democrats are running in every single race in the House and in the Senate. Same thing in Texas, where Democrats this year are also, for the first time in decades, fielding a Democratic candidate for every single House seat and every single Senate seat in the whole state of Texas. Same thing in South Carolina. Democrats in South Carolina are running for every single seat in the legislature. Same thing in Arizona. Democrats are fielding a candidate for every single seat in the legislature. In Kansas, there are 18 seats where Republicans ran unopposed last time. This time, all 18 of those seats have a Democrat running. In North Carolina, Democrats are fielding a candidate in all but 2 seats in the entire state. In New Hampshire, where the state legislature is massive, it's basically impossible for a party to field Senate and House candidates for all 424 seats in the New Hampshire state legislature. But Democrats have candidates running in 57 more races in New Hampshire than the Republicans do. This sort of Democratic recruitment bonanza, Democrats absolutely filling the ballot in all of these states where for years, maybe forever, they've never even thought it was worth contesting these races. This is born of deliberate strategy on the part of Democrats, right? In a country where the president has a negative 50-point approval rating from independents, literally any group of voters anywhere in the country might conceivably vote against the party of a president who's that roundly hated by this country. Right, so it's born of strategy, and it's good strategy in a year like this for Democrats to cover all the bases. You know, run someone everywhere. You never know where you might pick up a seat or two. But it's also born, I think, of personal confidence among these candidates, that it's worth the time and effort to try. Even in a long shot district, it's worth it. In fact, it's something you'll be proud of. It's worth it. Standing up for your country, raising your hand and saying, hey, pick me, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to go up against what these people are doing to the country. I think it's born, in some ways, of personal confidence that running is something worth doing right now, no matter how it comes out. And you're seeing it all over the country. The Washington Post today profiles the prospects for the African-American vote, specifically in Southern Democratic parties. The numbers are eye-popping. This is a headline. Resisting Trump has galvanized black Democrats as the midterms approach. High primary turnout among black voters in the South has given some in the party hope for upset wins in the region, in the South. And indeed, South Carolina is one of those states where Democrats are running candidates in every state legislature race, every congressional race, every statewide race on the ballot. Democrats in South Carolina will fill the entire ballot this fall in a way they have not done before. And there's reason for them to be hopeful about that kind of a strategy. When South Carolina Republicans moved like the other southern states after the Supreme Court ended the Voting Rights Act this year, when South Carolina Republicans moved to break up black voters into different districts to dilute black voters' power so a candidate black voters' support could never win in South Carolina again, when South Carolina Republicans did that this year, you want to know how much voter turnout jumped in the one black congressional district in the state? the congressional district represented by Democrat Jim Clyburn. You want to know how much voter turnout jumped there? In that primary, voter turnout in that district jumped by 50%. So yeah, of course Republicans are panicked. Of course Trump is, trying to figure out a workaround, trying to take over the election somehow. Today, after losing 11 straight state cases where he's tried to force states into handing over their voting rolls. Today, Trump also lost at the U.S. Supreme Court on voting. Trump lost bluntly on one of the huge swings he and Republicans have been taking this year against the elections. This is the headline in the New York Times, quote, Supreme Court mail ballot ruling deals new blow to Trump's election plans. Quote, President Trump's wide-reaching campaign to change election laws suffered another setback today, on Monday, when the Supreme Court blocked a crucial pathway to restricting mail-in voting practices. Quote, the Supreme Court ruling upheld a Mississippi law allowing mail-in ballots to be received up to 5 days after Election Day. Today's ruling follows another federal court decision last week to strike down key parts of a Trump executive order that sought in part to empower the U.S. Postal Service to regulate voting by mail. As Trump has tried to seize control of the mechanisms of voting, quote, time and again, Mr. Trump has run into barriers in the Constitution, which grants no authority over elections to the executive branch. Ah, yes, the pesky, pesky Constitution and its barriers to what Trump wants to do, to what Trump insists he's going to do, to what Trump is trying to do. Even as the Supreme Court today effectively told Trump he has to pay E. Jean Carroll for sexually abusing her. Even as the Supreme Court today told Trump to back off trying to mess with people voting by mail. Even as the Supreme Court today restricted the government, the police, from grabbing your cell phone data with no warrant and no probable cause just because of where you physically were when you had your phone on you. Even as the court today told Trump to back off trying to fire Lisa Cook from the Fed Board of Governors. Today, nevertheless, is going to be remembered at the court for what it told Trump he can do. In dissent, liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor called today's ruling, quote, profoundly destabilizing. She said the majority ruling in the Slaughter case today, quote, gives the president a power unknown even to the English crown against which the founders revolted, elevating him above his once co-equal branches. There's a whole bunch of agencies inside the U.S. federal government that were set up by Congress to be repositories of expertise, of technical skill and experience, and therefore to be insulated from political pressure, from having its whole staff turn over every time a new president is elected. Think like, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission or the Consumer Product Safety Commission, right? These are not necessarily the most exciting agencies in the world. They're not agencies that make a ton of news, but you know what they do, right? And they're agencies that you want to have expertise. You want them to know what they're doing. Right? The Consumer Product Safety Commission is exactly what it sounds like. That's the agency that makes sure you can't, sell a toaster that's guaranteed to set your kitchen on fire, or a baby toy that's going to poke your kid's eye out. Consumer Product Safety Commission. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission, also exactly what it sounds like. They oversee, for example, the safety of nuclear reactors, so we don't have a Chernobyl in Kansas or a Fukushima in Virginia. How enthused are you by the idea that Donald Trump is now free to fire everyone at agencies like that? For no reason at all other than the fact that he feels like it. Even though there are laws saying people should only be fired from agencies like that for cause, the Supreme Court said today that Donald Trump can fire everybody at those agencies for no reason at all. What that means is that Trump is free to fire all of the nuclear regulatory experts, right? And the people who make sure we're not buying toasters that are also flamethrowers, right? Trump is now free to fire all of those people who have expertise in matters like that. And he's free to replace them with, I don't know, who might he replace them with? Maybe the people who manufacture the proverbial flamethrower toasters? Who also, hypothetically speaking, bought his crypto coin and joined Mar-a-Lago and gave Eric, the blonde son, a bunch of stock and put him on the board. Yeah, you'll now be in charge of toasters and their safety. I mean, this is the National Labor Relations Board, the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, the Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board.
Mm-hmm.